1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honey Bee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I'm one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Honey Bee. I've missed you guys. I feel like it's been so long since we did our regular show.
Yes, we're back to our regular show, which is Honey Bee and I talking about kaiju movies. But if you've been paying attention, we do a 31-day marathon in October where I put out an episode every day. And we just wrapped that up a few days ago so I can relax a little until next year. But now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. But thanks to all of our special guests who came in to help out with that.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was awesome.
Honeybee, we got a little bit of a follow-up from one of our 31 Days of the Dead episode.
Oh, yay!
We got a message from the woman that played the flower girl in My Fair Zombie.
The one that was not credited?
Yes. My sister reached out to her about that. And we got a little bit of an answer, I think, while we were recording that episode. But she sent us a voicemail, so let's listen to that real quick.
Cool.
This is Thea Nikolic talking to us about her involvement in My Fair Zombie.
So some fun facts. I really appreciate all the love. Fun little bit of trivia in this. I was actually just freshly pregnant when I was doing that movie, and so I was sick as a dog during that shoot. It was so hot that day. Yeah, super hot, and I felt super sick and nauseous. But yeah, I also... I was still actively working in ACTRA at the time, the union for film actors in Canada at the time, which I'm totally ACTRA. Oh no, yes, ACTRA and the Stage Act Equity here in Canada. And so there were some things that I ended up not getting credited for because it would have challenged my status as a union actor. And also, fun fact, my husband, Jody Hawk, my name is Thea Nikolic, and Trevor Paye and Brett Kelly are all part of an improv troupe called Crystal Basement Comedy Crew. And we've been doing improv together for years. My husband and Brett went to high school together. Jody and Brett I'm married to Jody. Went to high school together, and they were doing improv. And then Trevor was a good friend of theirs, and he joined their troupe as well. It might have been Trevor first and then Brett afterwards, but they've been doing improv for a really long time. So you are right in the fact that Brett does use a cast of people, and usually what will happen is, like, he's got an idea for a new silly movie, and he messages the three of us and be like, hey, do you want to be part of it? Now, Trevor, a lot of the times, actually now it helps write a lot of the stuff. And in one of the newer shark movies, I think it's Kaiju Shark, Jody, Trevor, and I are in a scene together where we're generals trying to figure out the whole Kaiju Shark thing and whatnot. And so that's the answer as to why I wasn't credited. And some of my stuff with Brett, I don't think all of my stuff with Brett is credited. So so that's a fun fact. And yeah, a couple of the people that he works with on a regular basis. And then in another one, I can't remember, Galactic Warriors, I think. So 80s sci-fi kind of thing. I play a Russian accented alien in like one little scene. But what's funny is one of the leads that I ended up working with very briefly played Toto the dog with a puppet in Orpheus Musical Theatre, which is a musical theatre company here locally in Ottawa. And I was the Wicked Witch of the West in that show. And I was racking my brain trying to figure out how I knew her, and then my husband connected the dots. But anyway, I'm about halfway through your podcast, and it's really entertaining and fun. And I will be sure to share it with Brett. If either of you ever wanted to do an interview for fun or whatever, just let me know. I'm sure I could connect you or whatever. But thank you so much. I love all the love. It really makes me feel good as a performer that I reached somebody with this performance. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, that was fun. So maybe we'll talk to them again when we get around to Conga TNT and possibly another movie that's not streaming yet. But by the time we get to it, it will be.
Sick.
So today's movie is Clash of the Titans from 2010. This is a remake.
The remake.
I guess it's kind of a kaiju movie, but when we decided to do the original Clash of the Titans, we knew that that would mean we'd have to do this one.
I think this is a kaiju movie. It is there's some kaiju in it.
No, there are definitely some big monsters in it. But the main reason we did the original, even though the kaiju doesn't show up till the very end, is because it was Ray Harryhausen's last movie, and he's very important to the development. The early days of this whole genre were very much influenced by him. So we're going to do this remake of Clash of the Titans, or as I call it, No Greeks Allowed.
As you like to call it, Clash of the Gods, there were no Titans?
Yeah. No. What I mean, well, that's true. There were no Titans. Titans already gone. No, but what I mean is there's no Greek actors anywhere near this movie.
Oh.
Similar to the movie Gods of Egypt that had no Egyptian actors in it at all, or anyone from anywhere remotely near that part of the world. So, yeah, they couldn't have thrown Jason Mantzoukas in there? Jesus. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, our current Wonder Woman is Israeli. She's not Greek either. Come on, Hollywood.
Get your shit together.
Let's get our stats here.
I feel like I'm going to have some unpopular opinions this episode.
Okay. As I said, from 2010, it was in 3D originally, but not originally. I'll get to that in a minute. Directed by Louis Leterrier? I don't fucking know. Screenplay by Travis Beecham, Phil Hay, and Matt Manfredi. None of those sound Greek. Of course, based on Clash of the Titans by Beverly Cross. It is 108 minutes in English, in color, $125 million budget, $493.2 million box office.
Damn.
Which led to them doing a sequel called Wrath of the Titans that came out 2 years later. The cast is Sam Worthington as Perseus and Otto Ferrant as young Perseus. Liam Neeson as Zeus, not Greek. Ralph Fiennes as Hades, also not Greek. Gemma Arterton as Io. Alexa Davalos as Andromeda. That name sounds vaguely Greek. Jason Fleming as King Acrisius and Calibos. Well, he becomes Calibos. Mads Mikkelsen as Draco. Natalia Vodianova as Medusa. Liam Cunningham as Solon. Hans Matheson as Ixus. Nicholas Holt as Eusebius. Ashraf Barham as Ozal. Maulode Akor as Kurik, Ian White as Sheikh Suleiman. That was the Jinn guy. Luke Treadway as Procopion. Ross Mullen, Robin Berry, and Graham Hughes as the three Stygian witches. Pete Postlethwaite and Elizabeth McGovern as Spiro and Marmara. Those are his adopted parents. Vince Regan and Polly Walker as King Kephas and Queen Cassiopeia. Rory McCann and Martin McCann as Bello and Phaedrus. Kaya Scodelario as Peshet. That might be Italian. That's not quite Greek, but semi-Greek. Greek adjacent. Judas Priest. So there you go. Honeybee, what are your initial thoughts on
Well,
Clash of the
okay.
Titans?
When I was looking this movie up to see like where it was streaming, I saw quite a few things such as the worst cinematic failure in history. All of the things wrong with the Clash of the Titans remake. I hated this movie. So I was like, oh shit, okay. I guess this is gonna be fucking terrible. And I found the movie. And okay, I will say, like, there's a lot of shit in this movie that does not make any, like, doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, none of it. Right. And then we will go through it, all of the things that don't really make sense, but I actually didn't mind it as much as most people, I think. Comparatively, I kind of liked it, and I'll tell you why. It reminds me of, do you remember when we were at G-Fest and we had that conversation, like a man walked up to us after the like Mothra panel and he was like, what do you think about the new monsters, the new, like the Legendary series? Like, do you like these movies? And he was kind of surprised that we were like, yeah, they're all right. And I remember like explaining to him, like, these movies are kind of the way to capture the next generation's, like the next generation, the audience's like brains, because we grew up with like Marvel movies and like these sorts of things. So the original movies may not be as like captivating or as interesting, or like it's hard to get why it's so cool. You know, not for everybody, but I think for a lot of people. And so I think that this movie kind of falls in that category for me of like, none of it really makes sense, but it's a lot of flashy, look over here, cool shit that like makes it kind of an okay movie for me. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right?
I think so. I mean, anytime you remake something, you're asking for some hate.
Yeah, for sure. You may even deserve some hate.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, you're looking for trouble, especially if it's something people really. I mean, if you remake a shitty movie, which is, I can't remember who was talking about this, but some celebrity was saying, why do they keep remaking good movies? You should remake shitty movies. You should take some movie that had a good idea but wasn't done well, and then remake that and do a good version of some shitty movie.
That's kind of
instead of taking
smart.
all these good movies and making shitty versions of them. I first saw this movie in the theater and hated it, but mostly because of the 3D. It was unpleasant to watch. So this is one of the, 3D was really huge a while back and everything was in 3D. Now almost nothing's in 3D. And so much so that they would take movies that had not been filmed in 3D and convert them into 3D after the fact. And some of those are more successful than others. And this was one of the not successful ones, along with Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I don't know what year that was, but I feel like it's about the same time, where the 3D stuff, rather than looking three-dimensional, looks like one flat thing in front of another flat thing. So there is some depth to it, but it doesn't look like a fully rounded three-dimensional object. And this is particularly bad when this is happening with somebody's face. Where their face looks flat. Their face is standing out from the background, but it still looks flat. And it just, it looks bad. So either pay the extra money to film it in 3D to begin with, or don't convert it. But don't do a shitty job converting it.
You heard the man.
So there's a lot of this that I don't care for anyway, but the experience of sitting there in the movie theater watching this shitty 3D was just making me mad at the time. So rewatching
What
it, I was
about
like,
watching
okay,
it now?
yeah, I was like, put aside your previous experience. You're not going to be watching it in 3D, so just how does it stand up on its own? And it's not great. There's some good moments, some cool shit going on, but they certainly take some liberties. As Wikipedia describes it, very loosely based on the legend of Perseus. There's also, well, one of my notes is that this is a D&D movie, because in Dungeons and Dragons there's a tendency to just mix mythologies together, and that's what they're doing in this movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily work as well for a movie, because they got the Greek stuff, but then they throw in some jinn. Those are Middle Eastern Arabic legendary creatures. They're not Greek. They're not from Greek mythology. And I believe we mentioned in the original Clash of the Titans that the Kraken is not Greek mythology either. It's Norwegian, Scandinavian, what have you, and probably refers to a giant squid. Probably this legend is based on giant squids. Whereas there is a sea monster in the Perseus story, but it's Cetus or Cetus. Cetus would be the Greek, and then the Romanized would be spelled with a C, which is just not a specific sea monster. It's sort of a generic term for a sea monster. And it's where we get cetacean for whales. Whales being cetaceans comes from that word. But of course, you can't do a remake of Clash of the Titans and not have Zeus say, "Release the Kraken."
Of course,
So,
yeah.
Okay, should we get into the plot, or should I bitch about it a little more?
That is completely up to you, my dear.
I mean, the owl makes a cameo. The mechanical
One
owl,
tiny little cameo. I was like,
which was
maybe a little disappointed about that, but also just glad that they gave him a cameo since they weren't going to use him in the film.
yeah, but they did it in such a way that was kind of shitting on the first film. They're looking through equipment, and Perseus picks up the mechanical owl, bleep bloop, or what, I forget what his name was in the original.
But isn't it Bubo? Bleep bloop.
Bubo, yes. Our R2D2 wannabe mechanical owl, which I never cared for, but he picks it up out of they're going through equipment, they're arming themselves, and he picks it up and he says, "What is this?" And the other guy goes, "Leave it." And he just throws it back in the box. It makes a couple of chirps and beeps, I think, and then he throws it back in the box. And I think people who really love the original movie were probably actually a little pissed about that, because it seemed disrespectful and kind of like, haha, look at this dumb thing from the original movie. Yeah.
Well, I loved it in the original movie. I know you didn't so much like it, but I did like it. I liked that it was our little like comedic relief, whereas this movie, we kind of get like these two dudes who are kind of our comedic relief, but not exactly. I don't know. So I will say I did kind of miss little Bubo.
Yeah. I mean, they could have put a real owl in, and a CGI owl that looked, at this point, it could have looked pretty real, or just use a real owl if they.
That would have pissed me off.
I'm saying they
CGI owl.
might have still, if they didn't want to have the silly robot R2D2 owl, they might have put in a real owl, or a real looking owl, and still, I don't know. I don't know. Flute. Why did I write down flute? Oh, there's a bit where someone's playing the flute and somebody's like, "Oh, let me see that," and then he breaks it. All right, let's just get into the plot, and I think these other things will come. I didn't make that many notes, but here's a breakdown of the plot from Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. During the gods' battle against the Titans, Hades created the Kraken, a fearsome monster that helped win the gods' victory. Zeus and his brothers then divide the world amongst themselves. Zeus took the skies, Poseidon the sea, and Hades, deceived by Zeus, was left to rule the underworld. I don't remember that, unless Hades just complains about it later. I don't remember them presenting it as it was a trick. Zeus later created the mortal humans, whose worship maintained the gods' immortality.
Which
time,
I don't
however,
understand
some
this. I don't get this. I don't know if maybe like I'm just not smart enough to get this, because I can totally be okay with that. But why aren't the gods already immortal? Like, why would they create? I don't understand why Zeus would create humans to feed their immortality if they're gods. They're already immortal. And we had this conversation too, like when we did the first episode, about how, especially in like mythology, in Greek mythology, that the gods are very like human-like in their emotions and things.
Yeah.
But this just doesn't make sense to me. Why, if you're already immortal, so why would you need to create
right?
this?
But because if gods aren't worshipped,
Mm-hmm.
then they disappear. They dissipate. I mean, this is.
I do believe in fairies.
I mean, this is not necessarily part of actual Greek mythology. I don't think actual Greeks at the time.
It's like this movie.
Were like, we must worship. They were more like, if we don't pay the gods proper respect, they'll get angry. But not that, well, we must worship them because they are fueled by our prayers.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. Like, that's just a this movie thing.
Right. Wow. Well, the thing is, it's kind of metaphorical, I think. Okay. That idea. Because in the real world, if a god is not worshipped, they do disappear. In that nobody worships Zeus anymore. Zeus is now just part of what we call mythology. It's not an active religion like it was at the time. We now refer to Zeus and Thor and many other gods from the old days that don't have many. I mean, there's probably some dude here and there, but there's not a great worship of Osiris anymore.
Hey, dude out there that's still worshiping Zeus, we are not shitting on you. We are merely having a conversation. Write in. Send us a voice memo.
So these gods lose their power. Not to say that they were actual beings who ever actually existed, but they're no longer a driving force in society. They're just now folklore, basically.
Okay.
You see that idea in a lot of modern fiction, that the old gods really do exist, but they're not as powerful as they used to be because no one's worshiping them anymore. So they're just sort of shadows of their former selves. And maybe they try to do things to get new worshipers, or, Yahweh and Buddha and the various Brahma, the various Indian gods that still have a lot of followers. They're powerful now, but Zeus and Odin and those guys, no one's worshiping them anymore. But maybe they still exist because they just still exist within our minds as part of our culture, as part of our past. But they don't have any power. So I think that's kind of where this sort of idea is coming from, that they need us as much as we need them, because if we stop worshiping them, then they'll fade away.
Okay.
But I think they only really hinted at that a little bit, though. It was mostly, I mean, this whole rebellion against the gods storyline is not really part of Perseus. It wasn't part of the first movie, and it's not really part of Perseus's legend. The old mythology is just full of people pissing off the gods and getting punished, and their entire bloodline being cursed for generations because of some fuck up one person made. So the idea that somebody would actually try to lead an assault on Olympus is just insanity. Because you can get cursed just for saying, my daughter's as beautiful as Athena.
Yeah.
That'll get you spanked pretty hard. Anyway, back to her summary.
Isn't it
so
Aphrodite?
Zeus creates the humans.
More beautiful than Aphrodite.
Yes. Zeus creates the mortals, and over time, however, some mortals begin to defy their creators. When the human king Croesus leads a siege at Mount Olympus, Zeus sleeps with his wife Danae, conceiving a demigod son, Perseus.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is wild. Okay, remember in the first movie how we were like, oh my god, so creepy. This guy coming in while she's asleep. The bird, This is way worse. This is so much worse.
Disguising it. I mean, the thing is, Zeus was always changing shape and impregnating some mortal woman, but I don't think in the stories he normally disguised himself as another human to trick them.
As her husband?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the person usually, Zeus came to her in the form of a swan, but I think the person is generally aware that it's Zeus, not, oh my God, I thought I was with my husband and I wasn't.
No wonder I finally got off. It was a god.
Yeah.
Shit. But also, something I hate about this part, I guess, is that, like, it's like, okay, she was with Zeus, so now I'm gonna kill my wife and Zeus's bastard kid, but it's like, well, goddamn, they just finished. Like, you gotta let that kid cook up a little bit. And then the next scene, we see, like, the kid in the casket with the dead body, and I'm like, so they waited for her to have the baby before they... I don't know. Maybe when you get pregnant by a god, 9 months is like 9 minutes. You just, like, just shit that thing right out. Yeah. That little screaming demigod full of blood and guts. I don't really know how it works, but this was another part where I was like, this is kind of wonky storyline here.
Well, I don't think they necessarily covered this in the movie too well, but I think part of the idea was, I'm not going to kill her. I'm just going to put her in this box and set her adrift at sea, and whatever happens, happens. It's out of my hands. So that, if Zeus wants to save her, he can do that, but... So you
think she had the... Do you think she had the baby in the box and then died?
No, I think he waited. No, I think he waited until the baby was born and then said, put them both in this box and throw it out to sea.
That's
and let whatever happens happen.
That's fucked up, dog. She didn't ask for Zeus to boink her in disguise.
No. Right. But they often... Well, I think there might have also... In the legend, there might also be some of that. Somebody told him your son's going to kill you one day or some shit. Which, again, we don't get in the movie. Some Oedipus shit. Anyway, this is a thing that sometimes happens in these Greek myths where the person's like, hey, I can't... It would be illegal or wrong or whatever for me to kill this person directly, but I have a loophole. I can just put them in a situation where they're probably going to die, but hey, the gods can save them if they want to. I didn't kill them. So it's just some bullshit. So Zeus retaliates against this. Yeah, he locks the queen and her newborn child in a chest and throws them into the sea. Zeus retaliates by striking the king with a lightning bolt, which severely deforms him. Perseus and the now dead Danae are found by the fisherman Spiros, who raises the baby with his wife Marmara.
And somehow, somewhere in the winds, one of the gods whispered, "His name is Perseus."
Did they? I didn't. Catch
no,
that,
they didn't at all. That's why it was just he just all of a sudden was like, "Oh, a newborn baby. I'm gonna name him Perseus." You know why? The gods told me in my mind's eye.
That's Pete Postlethwaite, by the way, who's generally good. He's just not Greek. But this part about him getting hit with the lightning and deformed, that's just because Calibos was in the original movie. So somebody's got to be Calibos in this one and get turned into a monster. So that's why that's there. 18 years later, Perseus and his family watch as soldiers from the city of Argos destroy the statue of Zeus, declaring war on the gods, which, again, just it's asking for trouble. You're not going to win. You are not going to win this fight. The soldiers are slaughtered by the Furies. It's one thing to say, I don't believe in God or the gods. It's another thing entirely to say, oh, the gods are very real and fuck them. You're not going to... I understand you might be angry with them, but they will win. you have no hope
they're gods.
of winning this fight. Yeah.
Yeah, we get a little bit of Sam Worthington. What? I didn't even know he was in this movie. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Jake Sully. Because I don't think he was very popular at this time, right? Am I wrong in that?
He's still not popular with me.
Oh, well, he is with me. And, but I was really excited to see him in this movie because I didn't know that he was in things in 2010. I feel bad about that. But, they have this really great moment where he's like talking with his land daddy, like, this is all I need. I have everything I need right here. And he's like, I wish I had answers for you, son, but I don't know where the fuck you came from or why I named you Perseus or all of these like things. And it's such a good moment that we kind of get like where we see him kind of wondering what his purpose is or like where he came from, but he's also like grateful for the people who raised him and like they have great like family banter. And I thought that was really sweet and kind of like important for his character arc, if you could say that. So I really liked his like land family and the bond that they had, and it was important.
Yeah, I do not care for Sam Worthington at all. I find him incredibly boring. I don't like Avatar. I haven't seen the sequel, but one of the many things I don't like about Avatar is that I find Sam Worthington really boring. I just don't give a shit about his character in that movie, as I find him to have no charisma or charm or anything whatsoever. And I found that to be true in this movie too.
Oh,
in fact,
bummer.
I'd forgotten. Yeah, I don't care for him. The thing is, he's not straight up bad, and he's nice enough to look at, but he looks like any dozen other guys. I don't think I would ever look at a picture of him and go, oh, that's the guy from Avatar, or that's the guy from Clash of the Titans. I would just be like, oh, it's some Hollywood dude. And he has no personality to speak of. So, yeah, it was not excited to remember that he was the dude from Avatar.
Oh, I love him.
So they tear down the statue of the gods and then immediately are slaughtered by the Furies, who are controlled by Hades. Hades then destroys the family's fishing vessel. Spiros and his family drown, with Perseus as the only survivor, even though they weren't the ones tearing down the statue, but collateral damage.
But we also got to talk about Hades, like LMAO Hades in this movie. Like, what in the Harry Potter is going on here? Okay,
Yeah,
I
know.
like, I don't know. When I like have a Hades or like a devil or like a bad guy, I want him to be like strong, which I know he's supposed to be weak at the beginning, but like maybe a little sexy. Just not this. Like, this guy sucks. And it's not the guy, it's not the actor. It's just like, what the hell is this? This is not Hades.
Ralph Fiennes is an excellent actor, but I did not care for his choices in this movie. But you can always blame the director. The director should have told him. The director either told him to do the wrong thing or didn't tell him to try something different. Because he's very much, I'm the god of death, and I'm all creepy and dead, and
it's so gross.
And
I'm
like,
showing you
dude,
that
dial
with
it
my
down.
guy liner.
Yeah, just dial it down a notch. Ugh. Well, just the whole thing of him being the bad guy. The thing is, Hades is not this Hades, and this is I still haven't finished watching that Disney Hercules, but Hades is not the same as Satan. And the place of Hades is not the same thing as hell. It's not a place of punishment. It's just where the dead go. And Hades is the god of death because somebody's got to oversee that. But he's not
Because
evil.
somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. It's not like he's causing the death. He's just been given dominion over the dead and the process of death. And there's a great episode of Xena where I think Hades has been imprisoned or something. So something has happened and nobody can die. But that doesn't mean nobody can be hurt. So people are suffering terribly because they've been wounded or they're horribly sick or something, but they can't actually die. And so Xena, of course, is tasked with finding out what's going on and releasing Hades from wherever he's being tied up or what have you, so that death can come back into the world and nature can move forward. He's just part of, in Greek mythology, he's just part of nature. Death is part of life. He's not a bad guy who's out to get you. You know, it's just, but this is because this is the kind of movie where you have to have a bad guy. And it's not enough that the gods are inherently sort of bad guys.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, they're still punishing the humans for being arrogant, but now it's more like, oh, one of the gods is the bad guy and the other gods have just been tricked by him, rather than the gods are just above us and maybe indifferent, or I don't know. It just seemed juvenile to me.
Also, Hades comes out of the ocean, which I was like, isn't Poseidon the ocean god?
Yeah,
or is
right.
that a different thing? Okay.
Yeah. He. I don't know if we even see Poseidon very much in this.
We don't.
Because in the original, because the Kraken's a sea monster, Poseidon's the one who has to release the Kraken.
Yeah.
Zeus gives the order, but Poseidon's the one with the keys.
Yeah, but we have no Poseidon in this movie, which was another whoopsie.
I mean, they mentioned him in the beginning here, but I don't remember him doing a whole lot. Is he even listed in the cast? Yeah, he's. There's somebody else though that is. Did this list? I don't think this listed the whole cast. Because don't we see Hermes at one point? Mm-hmm. And I don't think it listed him. Now I gotta go to IMDb and see what's what. Because I remember thinking Hermes was somebody. Yeah, Apollo. Luke Evans is Apollo. Isabella Miko is Athena. They weren't mentioned.
They were very
Maybe
short parts too.
It was Apollo, not Hermes. It was Apollo,
for like one split second, and Apollo has one line that's like, Hades is right, we should, and Zeus is like, hey, shut up, kid, this is my show, I'm running it, fuck off.
Yeah. Oh, another one of my notes is, why are the Greek gods wearing this weird glowing pseudo-medieval armor? They weren't wearing what looked like Greco-Roman armor. They were wearing very Arthurian pseudo-movie medieval armor. It had this really annoying, shine glow to it that was meant to make them look godly, but it just made them hard to look at. Anyway, Perseus' family dies. He survives. And then he's found by another group of soldiers. Perseus is brought before King Cephas and Queen Cassiopeia, who are celebrating their campaign against the gods, while their daughter, Princess Andromeda, disapproves of her parents' rebellion. Cassiopeia furthers her boasts. And that's when she says, my daughter's more beautiful than Aphrodite.
When she said that, I literally went, and then I was like, why am I gasping like that? And I was like, oh yeah, because of the first one.
The revelry is suddenly interrupted by Hades. He kills Cassiopeia by rapidly aging her, threatens to unleash the Kraken upon Argos in 10 days unless Andromeda is offered to it as a sacrifice, and reveals Perseus' godly heritage. Perseus meets Io, a mysterious woman cursed with immortality, who confirms his origin. So I didn't get what the fuck was going on with this. Why? One of the big things in the legend of Perseus and in the previous movie is his thing with Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the love story or the romance or what have you, and they get married. I mean, and they get married and have children. And one of their, who are, famous within Greek mythology, and one of his descendants is Hercules. And in this movie, he hardly interacts with Andromeda at all. They have no chemistry. And Io, who is immortal in this, but in Greek mythology is one of his ancestors. His 9 times great grandmother.
Ruh-roh.
She's the love interest. Yeah. Well, I mean, the gods are always banging their relatives and their own descendants and stuff, but they're gods. They don't have to worry about the DNA getting corrupted by too much inbreeding. But yeah, it just so I just don't understand this decision to even put her in the story and then have her replace Andromeda. I don't get what this was about.
Shout out to the dog I used to groom, who's definitely listening to this podcast. I love you, Io.
Perseus, Io, and the King's Guard, led by Draco, journey to the Stygian witches, seeking a way to defeat the Kraken. To help his son, Zeus tries to give...
Have you gotten to the part in Hercules with the witches that I referenced ages ago in this podcast, and you didn't know the reference, where she's like,
What's the matter with these scissors?
No, I don't think I got past the first song.
Damn it.
It was just it was the stuff with Hera being a loving mother to Hercules that I was like, what? That's not...
Well, it's a fucking Disney movie.
I know, but just, read a goddamn book.
That's what you said about Tarzan, and I'm still upset about it.
It's a fine book. It's a classic. We'll do random stuff about that one. Anyway, I thought the Stygian witches were pretty well done here.
They're so good. I love this part of the movie. I will say another thing that's kind of doesn't make sense about the movie is that when Hades comes in and he's like, I'm going to destroy shit in 10 days. It's like, all right, shit, we got to get a move on. And then at one point, what's his nuts is like, well, there's 4 days until we get to the witches. And I'm like, well, shit. And then they get to the witches, they're like, well, now we got to go do the Medusa thing. And I'm like, okay, does anybody know, how much time we have, or kind of freaking out? What day are we on? And it wasn't, really clear, right. And it kind of made me a little bit anxious. What day is it? How many days do we have left? When is the eclipse?
Why did he give him 10 days anyway?
I don't know. Oh, because of the eclipse.
Why give him... Oh, it had to have... Okay, right, it's part of his crazy plan.
Yeah.
Wasn't sacrificing her during the eclipse going to somehow give him power? They haven't mentioned yet, but he has during all this, there's a cult leader who's like, yes, we must sacrifice her to Hades. We must appease
sacrifice
the gods.
The princess, you
and
whiny little bitches.
Yeah, and she's actually willing to be sacrificed because she's a good ruler who is willing to sacrifice herself for the good of her people. Mm-hmm. But this guy seems actually very excited about the idea of sacrificing.
Well, because at the beginning of the movie, when he's first preaching, he's preaching about everyone needs to pray to the gods. That's how we're going to fix this, pray to Zeus. And then Hades comes in and is like, this is my show now. And so then the guy's like, everybody pray to that god, not the one that I was saying earlier, but this one.
Not the gods in general, and not Zeus, but Hades now.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Yeah, that guy basically I think seeing a god made him lose his mind.
Yeah.
So let's see. To help his son, Zeus tries to give Perseus a lightsaber. A sword forged on Olympus. Which he refuses. This thing was totally a lightsaber in that it was not that it was a laser sword, but that it was a hilt that could turn into a sword. So it's easy to tuck in your belt, and it's not too cumbersome. You can just whip it out and push the button, and it turns into a full sword.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after, they are attacked by the corrupted Acrisius now known as Calibos, who is working for Hades.
Which one of my
During the
notes
fight,
is literally, like, right before this, my note is literally like, I love how there's not even, like, a training montage in this movie. Just, oh, I was born for this. I know how to fight. And then we got, like, a tiny little, like, sliver of a moment of fight with me, boy. And then, like, the guys kind of fight. And it's like, okay, all right, demigod, he's got it. He doesn't need any training. He's just been a fisherman all this time. But don't worry. He knows how to fight for absolutely no reason at all other than he's Zeus's child, I guess.
Yeah. You'd think he would at least use a trident or a spear or something that he might have had to use while fishing, but nope.
Nope, just the god in him knows how to fight. He's got that god in him.
Let's see. During the fight, Draco severs Calibos' hand, forcing him to retreat into the desert, where the blood from his injury conjures giant scorpions, which attack the group. They are rescued by a band of Jinn, desert sorcerers who tame the remaining scorpions and lead their aid to Perseus and his group. That's not really what Jinn are, but they're also not Greek, as I mentioned earlier.
Also, in this fight, right before we meet the Jinn, we get to see Sam Worthington's little butt cheeks up his skirt. And I was like, ooh, butt cheeks.
Okay. Jinn is where we get the word genie from. That they're that's the anglicized version of jinn, is genies. So they're invisible spirit kind of creatures from pre-Islamic Arabia, and they're not Greek.
Jinn.
Yeah, they're not just dudes, ugly dudes, but dudes. Where the fuck
what'd you think about the scorpions?
I mean, they looked, they were well done.
I like that they came from the blood. Oh, yeah. Well, you know what we forgot to mention?
What's that?
Hades, like before this scorpion scene, like goes to Calibos, I guess, and is like, "Here, take this," and just like vomits a angry spirit into him. I don't know if this is what makes the blood scorpion like turn into scorpions, but I was like, what the hell did he just give him? And also, can't Zeus see this moment? Like, why all of a sudden, like, here's another like inconsistency, right? Is like every time someone's like, fuck the gods, fuck you, Zeus hears it. Or like at one point they're like talking and Hades like knows what's going on. He just shows up, right? Because like the gods are all knowing and all hearing and whatever. But then Hades just goes up to Calibos and is like, hey, I need you to do this for me. You got to take this kid out. Wouldn't Zeus, or like wouldn't someone hear him? Like, how is this like a secret? I don't understand.
Maybe because he's also a god, he's able to cloak things, hide.
Oh, yeah, maybe
what he's
so.
doing from the other gods.
Maybe that's true.
So this didn't mention when they're getting ready to go do stuff, these two guys just volunteer. So it's Perseus.
This is our comedic
and
relief.
Some of like the royal guard, and then these two dudes who are just like, we're good fighters. We're good at hunting shit and killing shit. We want to come. I think it's just because, hey, we want to help save the princess.
And they also they have some sort of specialty with like killing monsters and shit.
Yeah. But this is more the D&D shit because they fight the giant scorpions, but then these two clowns turn them into steeds later on, which is a very D&D thing to do, to just be like, you find a monster. Can I ride it? Can I turn it into my horse? Can I make a pet out of it or a steed? People are always trying to do that shit in Dungeons and Dragons. They want to adopt every creature they find that they don't kill or try to ride it.
They also make like little shields out of their skin, skeleton shit. I don't know what a scorpion exoskeleton. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they're chitin. So they team up with these Jinn. They arrive at the lair of the Stygian witches, who are forced to reveal a weapon to defeat the Kraken, the head of the Gorgon Medusa, who resides in the underworld. Upon arrival, Perseus and his remaining companions enter Medusa's temple lair, while Io remains outside. Medusa kills everyone except Perseus, who finally manages to behead her by using the reflective underside of his shield to see her with his back turned. Upon leaving Medusa's lair, Calibos appears and fatally stabs Io. Oh no!
Yeah, I really liked Medusa in this movie. Like, I thought,
Okay.
like, obviously, like, the stop animation Medusa in the original is, like, so dope. And it's one of those scenes that I'll never forget. Like, it's one of those scenes that I remembered seeing, watching the movie, even though I couldn't remember the rest of the movie. It's so good. And I really love this Medusa in this movie. I like how she moves, how she looks. She has a bow and arrow, which is really fucking cool. Although I don't really understand why she needs it, but it's cool. I like that she has one. And the scene was good. Like, it was good. Like, where she, like, kills everybody and everybody's, like... And I liked it. But I think because in the original movie, that scene was, like, the scene that kind of just lived in my head for that movie, that I don't know. I expected maybe more similarities. Like, maybe, like, the red light or something, you know, from, like, the first movie. Or, I don't know. This was just such an iconic scene for me from the first movie that I felt like the remake scene had to be similar, I guess. I don't know. I did love the Medusa, though. I think she looks amazing. I think she's great. I love the scene. But I kind of wish there was just some more, like, red light, or we got kind of more of that, like, stop animation scariness, where I think this was kind of missing it a little bit for me.
Well, I feel like it was... I mean, it looked good, but it also... It's, you know, it's just CGI. And
Yeah.
And it all seemed just a bit much. I mean, I understand you're making a blockbuster effects movie. You want to have some big action set pieces. But it was just so kind of over the top. And she not only has snake hair, but her whole body is a snake. She's a female torso on top of a snake body. And just... it was just such a crazy over the top scene that I thought it felt like a bit too much to me. I mean, that's what movies are like now. They're just, the action sequences are so beefed up from what they were 40 years ago or longer, but sometimes it's all just kind of sound and fury signifying nothing. It's just, it lacks any reality, any emotional connection, because it's just cartoons fighting each other. It reminds me of the fight between Superman and Zod in Man of Steel versus the fight between Superman and Zod in Superman 2, where one is the 70s, one is just much more low-key and slow fight, but it's also much more clear what's happening at every moment, and the characters' motivations are much more clear, whereas the new one is just a bunch of fast cuts smashing through shit, and you're not entirely sure what's going on, and none of it feels real, even though it looks more real. So I don't know. I'm just old, I guess. Anyway, Calibos stabs Io.
Which was kind of weird also, because she has been all-knowing up until this point. Like,
yes.
Really? No one knew that he was... Okay, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. As Perseus and Calibos fight, Perseus picks up the Olympian sword and kills his opponent. Calibos' human form is briefly restored, and he begs Perseus not to become like the gods before he dies. As Io lies dying, she urges Perseus to save Andromeda and Argos. The winged horse Pegasus arrives, who is black now for some reason, because this is the goth Pegasus. I don't know. Traditionally, Pegasus is portrayed as a white horse, and now he's a black horse. I guess they just thought it would look cooler. I don't know.
It kind of does.
And he takes Perseus back to Argos, while Hades, having manipulated Zeus and the gods into earning his trust, releases the Kraken.
Yay! I will say, I think this release the Kraken was way better than in the original movie when he says it with absolutely no emotion.
Right. Well, because now it's become a thing. It's become a meme, and so he needs to play it up.
Yeah.
It was just one of the line in the original movie. It was just one of his lines, but now it's the line that everybody's waiting for. So he's got to make a big deal of it. Procopion, a fanatical worshiper of Hades, and his followers take Andromeda to be sacrificed in a thing that really reminded me of King Kong.
Hell yeah, it did.
Perseus arrives in time and exposes Medusa's head to the Kraken, which gradually petrifies and crumbles.
The
Yeah,
Kraken, by the way, looks amazing. I loved it. It was so scary.
It did. And this whole scene where like it's just about to get her and then he comes running up the mechanism.
Yes.
Jumps in the air, pulls the head out of the bag at the last minute. It was all over the top, but it was still pretty, it worked. I'll give him that. But yeah, way to cut it close, dude.
And then she was like, oh my God, you saved my life. Are you going to marry me? And he's like, nah, I'm in love with one of the god bitches. Sorry. Hate to break it to you.
Yeah. Procopion attempts to kill Perseus, but Kephas intervenes, and both of them are then crushed by the Kraken's falling claw.
Suck it, nerd.
Hades confronts Perseus, but the later, invoking Zeus, hurls his sword at Hades, forcing him back to the underworld. Perseus rescues Andromeda.
Something else that I feel like we missed. There was like one point where like Zeus comes to Earth and he's like, hey son, you're one of the gods. You have my blood running through you. It's time you come up here and start acting like one. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he really wants to get on that after you R-worded his mother. And like, what? Like,
yeah.
It's so awkward. Like, what now? All of a sudden, you're like coming to, hey, come and live with me as one of the gods. Like, bitch, Zeus, you a bitch. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, I forgot.
He also acts like he's like, oh, what? I have a son? I didn't know. Like, why didn't you know? I think he even denies it at one point. I think he's like, what? No, that's not that can't possibly be my son. Like, some king of the gods you are. And he's like, oh, wait, I guess it is my son. I guess I better go make him an offer. And this is my note that Zeus makes offer again after saying he wouldn't. So when he gives him the sword, he's like, hey, you should come live in Olympus and come away from all this earthly nonsense and come live in Olympus. And he's like, no. And he's like, are you sure? I won't make this offer again. And then he does make the offer again. Perseus rescues Andromeda, who asks him to rule Argos by her side as king, but he declines. Later, Zeus appears before Perseus and offers to bring him to Olympus, which he also refuses.
Again.
Zeus, while disgruntled, accepts... disgruntled, that's not right. Disappointed is a better word. I wouldn't say disgruntled. Zeus, while disappointed, accepts Perseus' choice and revives Io, allowing them to be together.
Poor Io. She finally fucking died after all that time watching her loved ones come and go, and now she's fucking alive again. Really? For this little prick?
Yep.
I don't think so. He was a fisherman. You don't even like the guy. You think he's boring, but poor Io had to come back for this shit.
Yeah, I was cursed with immortality. And I finally... Well, unaging doesn't mean undying, but now it does, I guess. Because, apparently she can get stabbed. We will watch Wrath of the Titans when we get to it, but I can't currently remember anything about it, other than I remember actually liking it a little better than this one at the time.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if Io's in it again, or if Andromeda's in it, or anything, but we'll find out. I'm not going to read ahead.
Fuck yes. How many stars are you going to give 2010 Clash of the Titans, the remake?
Judas Priest. God damn. 2, I think.
Okay. All right.
Maybe. Yeah. I just don't like it. There's a few cool things, but I think I've said this before. What I would love, this is not the movie's fault. I'm giving it 2 because I don't care about Sam Worthington. He's just boring. I would prefer they didn't take all these liberties with the source material and even the other source material. I mean, the original Legends and the original movie. But it really comes down to, I don't give a shit about Perseus. He's boring.
Wah, wah.
2 stars. What I was going to say is I would love it if somebody like, HBO or Amazon or somebody made a series of the Greek legends, which in a way Hercules and Xena were. But I would like to see a TV series with, the humans are going to turn over, but your gods are going to be the same. So have the same cast of gods and just go through all of the legends, Perseus and Theseus and eventually Hercules and Jason and the Argonauts and all of these different legends, but brought together in one production that could last for seasons if you really did everything. And it would cover generations, and the only consistent cast would be the gods. Although you could maybe bring some actors back as descendants of their other characters if you really liked them. The same guy could be Theseus and Hercules. I mean, Perseus and Hercules, since they're related and what have you. They'll probably not, because Hercules needs to be beefier because he's known for his strength specifically. So he should be physically larger than Perseus. Anyway, I think that would be a really cool thing to do. And nobody's done it.
Fuck yeah. So,
but that's neither here nor there. This movie can't be that, but it's still just getting 2 stars. How many are you going to give it, Honeybee?
I'm gonna give it somewhere between 3 and 4 stars. I really like Sam Worthington. His voice is very like Batman. But anyways, I really like him, and I liked the movie despite all of the fuckery. Like, even though it was very inconsistent, and a lot of times I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? I still enjoyed the movie. I still really liked it. I liked the CGI. It was no Harryhausen, I mean, am I right? But I really liked the monsters. I love the scorpions. I love the Kraken. Hated Hades. Really wish he would have been like a cooler Hades.
Yeah.
But like I said, it wasn't the actor. It was just like the character. And kind of like the Io Perseus thing was a little weird, but I still enjoyed the movie. I still really liked it. There were a lot of points where I just really found myself, wow, I am really enjoying this. So yeah, I'm going to say somewhere between 3 and 4, in between like it was okay and I liked it, somewhere around there. Like maybe a soft 4, a hard 3, something like that.
Okay. All right, there you go, folks. Honeybee, next week, I believe, if I've counted correctly, will be our 300th episode.
That crock of shit. See what I did there?
Yeah, because next week's movie is going to be Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus.
Ew.
So.
Yay, 300 episodes, you guys. Thanks for being here with us.
That's counting all the episodes, the Halloween ones, any bonus episodes we've done, any of that kind of stuff. It all adds up to 300 next week. So
shit, yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot for not quite 4 whole years yet. So please come back and join us then. And if you like what we're doing, like and subscribe and rate and review and support us on the Patreon and subscribe on YouTube. We're on YouTube now, and we need to get more subscribers if we're going to monetize this shit and quit our day jobs. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for listening. Until next time, I have been Precious D.
And I've been Honey B.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please don't misuse science.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
Release the Kraken.
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go, If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.